Hi all, DT Neal coming back at you with writerly issues, storytelling, science fiction, cyberpunk, picking up where I left off. It's funny for me because obviously there's a story you got to tell. The story is the story. It doesn't necessarily, the other elements don't necessarily matter in terms of consumer decisions a character makes. And yet, in a world as dominated by consumerism as Cyberpunk is in its way, whether you're shopping for eyeballs or cyber arm, or some new set of lungs or some limbs. It's funny because classic consumer culture depends on a large group of people who have the play money to indulge themselves in whatever the consumer product is of the age. You know, in the 1950s, it might have been getting that new car. You know, paying like $800 for a brand new car, or whatever. You know, whatever ridiculously low prices boomers had back in that day, and then their parents, silent generation folk. The greatest generation people, you know, being able to buy a house for $6,000 or whatever, you know, work a summer job, get a car, get a house. That the spending power that they had fueled the expansion of the consumer culture, right? And when you jump ahead into a cyberpunk universe, you've got really the 99% of people are living hand to mouth. They are enmeshed in the hustle culture. They are busting their chops, trying to survive. That's why they love those. I mean, Blade Runner still has that beautiful aesthetic of beautifully bad aesthetic of just rain and litter everywhere, and people scrambling. Where are they going? We don't know where they're going. They've got neon umbrellas, and they're in a steam and trash and filth, broken, dilapidated buildings, and the advertisements for off-world living, and how that's the way to be, and the sense of Earth as just being kind of like those who are left on Earth, or those who can't or won't go off-world, and that's all good. And of course, the company logos everywhere, you know, flashing in neon lights, or flashing on the side of buildings, or flashing on airships that are hovering over, advertising for these products. That, again, it's visually cool, and you see lots of art people have done over the years with regard to cyberpunk, and you have these beautiful cityscapes filled with colors and lights and advertisements, always advertisements everywhere. And that's, of course, a spin off of our everyday current existence, for sure. But if you deconstruct it a little bit, you're like, well, who are these ads actually for? Now, in my own world that I've done, in the plastic fantastic world, I've definitely paid attention to that in terms of like the strata in society. Who's in which group? Who's doing what? What are the activities of those people? You know, people who live at the lowest level, they're busy just trying to survive, doing everything they can. People in that sort of mid-level, which I won't call it's not middle class, because it's not. It's much more, it would be more upper class, but not yet ultra rich. There's like that's the idea of that chasm between the people who are well off versus the people who are stupendously rich. And so that class consciousness boils into my world, of course, because it's impossible not to see it. But it really is difficult to imagine any kind of shared cultural common currency, if you will. Like, and we're already seeing the beginnings of that now. Like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you might have a performer, whether it's a band or a solo performer, or a book, or something else, or a movie or a show. Everyone's watching it because everyone's on the same page. They're getting things from the same sort of channels. Nowadays, it's so fractionated, and it's the idea of reaching those larger audiences. It's beyond things now. Now you have something that might be considered a great success, but it only has a fraction of the audience that something 20 years before would have had. And that micro audience situation is only, in my mind, magnified in a cyberpunk world. In a cyberpunk universe, everyone's in their own little shell. Your world could just be the Oculus visor that you're wearing in the virtual environment that you're inhabiting. That may be more real to you. You may be living in your little tiny cell of an apartment, and that is your universe. And that's shockingly, almost frighteningly, I guess, where we are even now, with streaming services and people ordering things online and bots delivering products to you, right? So you don't ever have to set foot out of your cell. And that's dystopian. And I think, I certainly try to do justice to that, but it's really weird to think those touch points still have to be there a little bit when you're presenting. You have to pretend that there is sort of a common currency there, where people could understand, oh, this person's wearing this person's got that, this person has these eyeballs, this person has that arm. It moves it out of the realm of just, instead of just like a pair of shoes or a handbag, to like an extremity or headwear, right? That kind of thing. And it's just really jarring, because when you really kind of think about a society like that, you begin to realize just how untenable it is. That's why I said on that other post, the other one, where it was like, it's a liminal state. Like, you view it as, this is a transition from this to this, either collapse or a new order of human existence that is really transhuman and moves out of the conventional understandings of what it means to be a human being. It goes back to the thing I said, I think, on one of a week or two ago, about how it's really difficult to imagine families in a cyberpunk universe. Parents and child or children, and what, especially given the subordination of human life to corporate capitalism, right? It's very difficult to imagine how people can be brought up in that, because what do you do with a kid? If you have a kid, do you teach them to be a hustler / criminal? Do they apprentice with gangs? Or do you try somehow to save up money and send them to some kind of trade program or school where they can learn something and then get into the clutches more directly of the megacorporations? And that's the big shadow in the neon and chrome drenched universe of cyberpunk, which is the absolute hegemony of megacorporate capitalism. And you can see now in the world that we're in, people get peevish at the idea of billionaires just decide, like, oh, they want to do this, and suddenly the world bends to the whims of a billionaire. Who wants that kind of world? That's a dystopian world. And cyberpunk absolutely explores that, kind of revels in it. And there is both a cultural criticism inherent in that, which is important. This is why I still think there's value in cyberpunk. And there is also almost a cynical, dark comedic aspect of that, to think, oh, you're going to go shop for some new eyeballs there, buddy? Yeah, I need some new eyes. I need to see. And that's a little bit of the joke that I did. Not really a joke, but a little bit of that with Sightseer. The lead character, one of the earliest things he's doing is he's shopping for a new set of eyeballs, cybereyes, of course, because he didn't think the old ones were giving him the good resolution that he wanted. So he's eyeball shopping, which I think is like, that's so, the way I handle it, I think I do it well, in the sense that he's very blasé about it, but you're like, at least a reader today is like, oh my God, you're shopping for eyeballs, your own like cyber eyes. You don't have your own natural eyes. You electively got rid of your own eyes in favor of cyber eyes. Freak. But that's the dance. That's part of the juice of cyberpunk.